Well, hello there. Hello indeed. I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Mark. And I was just reading this paper here, two papers actually. Let's see, what do we have? Some interesting stuff, let me tell you. Pennsylvania is one of the headlines. Politics. Pennsylvania isn't known for producing presidents. Blah, 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 blah. If Rick bid for the White House, if successful, he'll become only the second Pennsylvanian to hold that office in the presidency's 239th year history. All right. Put this over here somewhere. This state is overdue for a prez. P-R-E-Z. How can it be that Pennsylvania, the state with the most precious historical legacy of all, has produced only one president? Whoops, I dropped it. I dropped it. Wait 1 minute, I gotta pick it up. Excuse me. You know, what you hear in the news media and what really goes on, let me tell you. So anyway, let me tell you a little story about that. My name's Mark, and as you can see, I'm standing in front of this board here. So let me just get right down to business. I'm going to get back to the politics thing in a minute, but just follow my my segue, my allusion to this, because it has a lot to do with what I'm about to tell you. See here, what's in a name? What is in a name? Here's a name. This is my name. And here is another name. You know that name, right? Am I in the way? I'll tell you what's in a name. Remember this from English class. This is Alagranzi. That's my last name. This is Washington. Okay. Remember, we have letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 letters. 10 letters in this name. There's the 10. In Washington, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 letters in that name. I won't write it again. I'm not going to be redundant. Let's just stay efficient here. 10 letters. Now, remember, there are also syllables. Remember what syllables are? Alagranzi. 1, 2, 3, 4 syllables. Washington. 3 syllables. Remember? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's in a name? What's in a word? Listen. I say it like this. This is a short A sound. It's not a long A. It's not A Alagranzi. That's a short E sound. You could say, and gran, the syllable gran contains an A. You could say granzi or granzi. Remember what gran was? The schwa sound. Remember the schwa sound? Are you all following me? I know you can't ask questions, but we're just going to keep moving right along because I have a lot of information to put out. The schwa sound, the schwa symbol looks like this. It's like an upside down backward E. I prefer to say my name Alagranzi. You could say it Alagranzi, it doesn't matter. Washington, it's a schwa A. Wash, it's not Washington, it's Washington. Okay, you get the picture. All right. That's all I have to say about this for now. So, I'm going to take another segue. We're going to keep going on and on and on. Okay, let me bring you right down here. Put you here. Don't mind me. Oh, I might as well show you my board. Here's my board here. As you can see, it's hard to see because of the glare, but somebody you know right there. Those two guys, you know them, right? There's a guy right there. There's a guy. See that guy? You know that guy, I hope. And there's a couple pictures down there. There's a nice lady there. She reminds me of a classy lady. Let's call her the first lady. And then let's see. Whoops. Oh, I forgot something. The day. Don't mind me. When you're out of practice, let me tell you, things get... When you're out of practice, let me just write this down. La 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 la. It's pretty hard here because I don't want to. There we go. I just got to take my good old time. I try to rush everything. Okay. There we go. I should have had this up. I'm slacking, let me tell you. When you get to be my age, and I know you're thinking this guy's not that old. May 27th, it's my birthday, by the way. 51 big ones. Excuse me, there we go. Okay, anyway. There's somebody you probably remember. That looks like the president's dog in the White House yard. A few other things, but the name of this is called Recruiting Number 44. Okay, that's why I'm here, to tell you exactly where our 44th president came from. Oh, yes, and okay, and there's also another little thing down there. Some of you might recognize what that stands for, PT 109. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to show you why I'm really here. Let me see, just got to make sure, okay. This is a book. This is a book that I wrote. Simple Observations. A report for key decision makers and for George W. Bush President. And I wrote this in 2003, 2004. And it reads like this. This is not the whole truth, but it is part of the truth. The reason I wrote this is because I attended a state university in Pennsylvania, Kutztown University. I wound up taking public administration. And I recognized one day I was in class and I recognized that all the presidents, most of the presidents had names that sounded identical, like with consonants at the end of their last name, like up there, Washington, like this one, Washington. And since my name was Allegranzi, I didn't really think that was fair. That, let me just, well, anyway, it's in the book. And there's more to it than that. Simple Observations was written because while at Kutztown University in 1991, I did this, I became discouraged from seeing all-white, male WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant presidents. Moreover, our class in Kutztown toured the slums of Philadelphia, the places that are blighted and decayed and decrepit. And this disparity in race and class influenced my writing and my thoughts for this book. I instinctively knew that we must elect a non-white president to truly equalize the United States and make us stronger in the process. 18 copies of this book were mailed to key public figures by myself. President Bush received the first copy with my photo and autograph with a 100% accurate prediction that he would be elected to his necessary second term. If you'll excuse me for a second. I have some white noise that I must get rid of. And I'm going to take my jacket off so I can get more comfortable. Oh. Much better. Nothing like being comfortable, let me tell you. Okay, President Bush received the first master copy. Also receiving copies were Nancy Pelosi, John Kerry, Ted Kennedy, John Edwards, Harold Ford Jr., Susan Collins, Clarence Thomas, David Souter, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, Alphonso Jackson, Charles Ogletree of Harvard University, Barack Obama, Alan Keyes, Kwesi Mfume, Jesse Jackson Jr., and Julian Bond. Months after receiving his copy of Simple Observations, Barack Obama surprised and wowed millions when he appeared on stage as the keynote speaker at the 2004 Democratic National Convention. I was in my family room with both of my parents. When I witnessed this new political superstar give his speech, I knew that my voice had gotten through. I distinctively remember one of the announcers giving accolades to Barack Obama for his great speech. The announcer also prophesied perhaps that Barack Obama would possibly be a 2012 presidential contender. Actually, this event, this Democratic National Convention speech, the keynote speech, which is right here, set the stage for Barack Obama to run in 2008. And it was my binder entitled Simple Observations that prompted, persuaded, and motivated Mr. Obama to seek our highest public office. And I wrote that on January of 2008. Okay, here's the speech. You remember his keynote speech. You can all get it. Very good speech. Okay, this was no easy feat. I guess I'm sitting here a little crooked. I don't know. Let me see. Uno momento. So, I guess I'll try to sit here. It wasn't easy to do, actually. It just took a little time. In fact, it took about a year to get it prepared correctly. But the long distance calls I made to all the people that I had to mail the stuff to Senator Obama. I called his office. I called Jesse Jackson Jr.'s office. I got all the addresses. I had to mail all the stuff. And here's the thing. Here's an address. This is Dearborn. This is Barack Obama, 230 South Dearborn, 3900 Chicago, Illinois. And I actually tried to send Oprah Winfrey. This is later. I actually tried to send Oprah Winfrey something, but the automated system said you had to go online. So I found out what her fax number was, and I got it under that way. I faxed her some stuff. It was I have the numbers here, but anyway. Oh, here it is. I think it's Howard Dean. I have Jesse Jackson Jr. Anyway, I'll get away from that. I got to continue on. But what I did was I specifically had photographs made to do what I want to do, and that was to get a non-white president elected. These photographs were $36 a piece. I got them made in Easton, Pennsylvania. What I did was each of the copies mailed included my photograph was in here, along with 18 individual prefaces. Like when I sent one to Susan Collins up in Maine, and I gave her my picture and I said, "You're doing a great job," and blah, 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 and stuff like that. And I said, and what I was trying to do was find somebody to actually take the job. I didn't know who. I didn't think it was going to be Barack Obama until I saw the 2004 Democratic speech where he gave the keynote address. Then the light went on upstairs, and that's when I knew. But he didn't really announce it till 2008. My total expense for all this cost between $2,000 and $5,000 of my own money. I made 18 copies of this 65-page notebook, and the 18 photographs cost $650. And let's see, I guess I'll put my picture up here. I'll take some of the credit here. Of course, it doesn't end there because it took everybody to elect Mr. Obama, the then senator, but so yeah, the stack of papers, and I hand wrote some of this stuff. So the stack of papers was real. I went to Staples, and the stack of papers was up to here. It was a lot of stuff, and then to mail each binder to each person. So anyway, I'll read the beginning part here. So this is also on my Facebook if you'd ever want to check it out. It's on there under Mark Allegranzi. So, see, anyway, it's a long. Let me just get to this. January 20th, 2003 to April 20th, 2004. President Bush, I wrote him a letter. Thank you for responding to my, just listen, I won't be able to look up at the camera, I'm going to read pretty fast. Thank you for responding to my correspondence way back in July. Also, the photograph that you sent me is well appreciated, and it was good to see that you rested at your Crawford home in 2008. It is comforting to know that you are in close touch with ordinary, average, everyday people such as myself. The least I can do to show my appreciation for your candidness is to change my lifelong political affiliation from Democrat to Republican. As a Republican, I still will be the same person inside as I always have been, but now the big difference is that I can vote for you come election time. I am predicting that you will successively win another term in office. Now, let me get, I didn't even touch the tip of the iceberg here, so. As I previously wrote, I wanted to express a concern about the executive branch of government. This concern, however, also extends itself into the culture of our society. And just as the battle continues for a more secure America, another conflict, one more subtle, covert, but one that is just as treacherous, has had its tentacles embedded in our society for centuries. Please bear with me as I allude to a fictional but relevant short story. At an inner-city elementary school somewhere in the United States, an American history class teacher concluded her daily lesson on the three branches of government. The teacher controlled her classroom well because she was very enthusiastic about what she taught. The students, who were mostly African American, watched and listened intently as she wrapped up her lecture. As the students left the class, one boy stayed behind and quietly approached the teacher. The teacher looked up at the approaching boy and she asked him if he was going to his next class. He said that he was, and then while he pointed his fixture at a pictorial poster of all the U.S. presidents, he sheepishly asked her, "Mrs. Kokanen, why are all the presidents white men?" The teacher had not been ready for such a question. She could not respond immediately, so she improvised an impromptu statement. Looking uncertainly at him, she responded, "That's a good question, Hosea. Maybe tomorrow I'll make it a point to discuss it." Then candidly, she continued, African American people were brought to this country against their own will. They had not been given the same opportunities that the Caucasian people, that the white people had been given. Maybe one day soon that will all change. Then she playfully concluded, maybe if you work towards it, and maybe if our people accept you, then just maybe you can be president. She finished, now don't miss your next class and have a terrific rest of the day. When Hosea Wilson left the classroom, Mrs. Kokanen sat and pondered for a moment. She reminisced about our president's speeches on how democratic and free the people of our nation were. But why then, as she looked at the pictorial on the wall, were all the presidents of Caucasian origin? After inspecting the poster a little longer, she also noted that virtually all of the presidents had last names that suggested that they were of white Anglo-Saxon and Protestant origin. She read the names quietly to herself as she scanned the small photographs. Quietly she whispered Reagan, Carter, Bush, Clinton, Johnson, Taft, Washington, Grant, Taylor, Tyler. With that thought, the 34-year-old elementary school teacher remembered what a former teacher, Miss Schuyler, had taught her some 20 years ago in a contemporary social problems class. One of the prerequisites of a Ku Klux Klan member was that he be a WASP. Excuse me, my nose itches. A shiver ran through the body of the school teacher. Was America truly as free as it was portrayed, or was the American story not what it seemed? Before she could analyze the thought a little more, a buzzer in the wall sounded, and the start of it startled Joyce Kokanen back to her next task. Another class was about to begin. Mr. President, not many people... I'm sorry, I'm going to have to change my position. My back is not as strong as it used to be. There we go. Can you see me? Mr. President, too low. Not many people want to talk about racism and discrimination, but the unfortunate reality is that the two practices do exist, and sometimes they are evident in more subtle and covert ways than many of us can see. The link between the above short story and our society today is very real, as well as it is very relevant. The successive, boy, reading's tough, ain't it? The successive pattern of all-white United States presidents exemplifies what is and what has been happening in this country for centuries. The pictorial of U.S. presidents basically says that only white Anglo-Saxon men are the only kind of people who are good enough to represent our country. To this premise, I must disagree. It is true, of course, that every president, including you, has had the drive, commitment, and decisive skills necessary to be above all the rest in executing the supreme law of the land. And I have no qualms about that. In fact, any president in office I will support 100%. I support you all the way, but because of the evidence that has been exposed in the above short story, our country remains on a destructive path of unfair advantage to those people who have been unfairly labeled as minorities. To be called a minority in this country must be quite disheartening to blacks, Hispanics, and other non-whites. I am quite certain that our National Security Advisor and our Secretary of State, this was written back in 2004, remember, want to be called something other than a minority. Subsequently, if that is the case, then all those darker-skinned people who are amassed in our deteriorating inner city, urban areas surely want to join their white counterparts in the more affluent geographic areas of our great nation, and indeed, I am sure that those same minorities certainly want to be a part of the majority. Mr. President, to give you a better picture of why I am talking about, please view the following photographs. Now, before I go on longer, I want to give the reasons that I wrote this. Let me see if I can find it. I should have it here somewhere. I had all this stuff placed. I was just out with a couple of friends there at one of the eateries, and let's see if I think this is it. That's not it. What the heck? I am always prepared. Son of a gun. Here, where the heck? All right, anyway, I'm going to have